Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We're always trying to find ways to educate audiences about many ways hormone disruption can impact our health, as well as ways to balance hormones and live as comfortably as possible. Cushing's syndrome is a hormone disorder caused by prolonged exposure to high levels of cortisol in the body. It is quite rare, affecting only about 1 to 3 people per million population each year. As a result, not many resources are readily available to people with Cushing's syndrome. That's why we're so glad to be chatting on IG Live today with Jewel Dukes, a certified patient leader for Cushing's syndrome. During this live, we're going to discuss signs of this rare disease, precautions to take actions, take actions when seeking for a diagnosis, dealing with the mental status after the diagnosis, and much more. So. Here you are. Oh, here you are. Hello. Hi, Jewel.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
No problem. How are you doing?
It's good. Good. Really glad to be chatting with the Cushing, because I actually had Cushing's, but it's pregnancy-induced Cushing's syndrome. So, and it's super rare. So it's really awesome to be chatting with you today.
Pregnancy induced. I've never heard of that one.
Yep, it's 1 to 3 people per million population. I think pregnancy induced is even more rare. Unfortunately,
Wow.
yeah, it took them a long time to diagnose me.
Wow. So when you had the baby, did it just go away?
No, I could not carry through the pregnancy. It was that
Oh,
dangerous. It got so bad.
wow.
So yes, now I have a
Oh my
baby through
goodness.
surrogacy, but I could not carry through the pregnancy.
What? Now I want to know your story. Now I'm very,
That could be a whole separate conversation. So,
now I'm interested in your story.
but because I think it's so rare, that's why I'm like super interested in hearing your talk today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you became a certified patient leader for Cushing's syndrome.
Well, there was a group that had a class, a well-known advocacy group that had a class, and I joined that class to become certified as a patient leader. But I started being an advocate for Cushing's, of course, because myself, I have Cushing. So there was not a lot of information out there. The doctors didn't know a lot about it. So the information that I had, I felt like other people needed to know.
Absolutely. Why do you feel it's necessary for people to advocate for the health of others?
Because sometimes people are afraid to advocate for themselves. Sometimes they just don't have the information they need to advocate. They don't know how to research. They don't know what to look for. They don't understand the terms. So I feel like it's our duty to help people who can't, help themselves, who don't have that, who can't advocate for themselves.
Not many people are aware of Cushing's syndrome, so I just gave a brief overview at the top of the Instagram. So what is it? Tell us.
Okay, so there's Cushing syndrome, and then I have Cushing's disease. So Cushing syndrome is when your body is making too much cortisol from your adrenal glands. Cushing's disease, the problem stems from your pituitary gland and your HPA axis as opposed to the adrenal gland.
What are some symptoms of Cushing's syndrome versus
So
Cushing's disease?
they're the same symptoms. So my first symptom was my first noticeable symptom, I would say, was weight gain. Depression, anxiety, headaches, there's so many, most high blood pressure, diabetes are also, most of the symptoms of Cushing mimic other diseases. So you might have high blood pressure and they just may write it off as high blood pressure. You might have high cholesterol and they may just write it off as high cholesterol. But when you have all of these things, they don't look too far into it to see, okay, why does she have this, and this, So we have to do our own research. We have to find out what's going on with our bodies. And a lot of the times the doctors don't listen to us because we're making it up or we're not that sick or you don't look sick or so many different reasons that the doctors don't believe us. So we have to make sure that, again, comes back to that advocating for ourselves. I went to 3 different doctors before I was able to get even a test done.
Oh, wow.
To try to figure out if I had Cushing.
Oh, wow. Once you've been diagnosed, are there any treatments for Cushing's syndrome?
Yes. So for Cushing's, I'm gonna start with Cushing's disease. For Cushing's disease, normally there is a tumor on the pituitary. And in my case, they went in and removed that tumor. So now my body no longer makes cortisol, and I'm on the opposite end of that, which is adrenal insufficiency. For Cushing's syndrome, usually either they will remove the tumor from the adrenal glands or they'll remove the adrenal glands themselves. There's also medication that can treat Cushing's if for some reason they can't find a tumor. There's medications that can lower your cortisol as well.
Yeah, it's like so complicated because even when you remove your pituitary tumor, it could also have insufficiency in your adrenal. So it's like really, really hard to have that balance.
Yeah.
Like what's like the right treatment if you don't know or if you don't get, second or even third opinion in your case. Oh, wow. How long after symptoms started did you realize that you might need to figure out what was going on?
So in the beginning of 2020, was it the beginning? In the beginning of 2020, I had too many strokes. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. They couldn't figure out why, how, who. So the neurologist couldn't figure out. My primary care physician couldn't figure it out. I did all these scans on my brain, but they never saw a tumor on my pituitary, which is weird. So I decided, well, I'll eat healthy, I'll exercise. And I did that for for about not even a year. And at the beginning of 2021, I started gaining weight. And over the course of a few months, I gained like 100 pounds. And I went to my doctor and he's like, oh, no, you can't be eating healthy. You can't be exercising. You wouldn't be gaining weight. So they sent me to a nutritionist. They sent me, and I'm like, I can't eat enough to make me gain this much weight in this short of a period of time. So it was actually my gynecologist who said, I agree with you. You probably need to go see an endocrinologist. So I went to the endocrinologist, and her first question to me was, well, do you want weight loss drugs? Yeah. And what? No, I don't want weight loss drugs. I want you to figure out what's wrong with me. And then she's like, well, we have this shot we can give you. I don't want a shot. I want you to figure out what's wrong with me. So she's like, well, there's this test we can run, and it'll be you take a pill, and then the next morning you'll come in for a blood draw. So that night I took the pill. The next morning I went in for the blood draw, and she calls me and says, well, did you take the pill?
Because cortisol was super high.
Right. I said, well, you tested me for the medication being in my system. You tell me that I take the pill, and my cortisol levels is supposed to be under 1.8. Mine was 16.9. And, and she told me, well, we'll do an MRI. I said, okay. So they did an MRI and there was a tumor. They found the tumor. And she says, oh, well, there is a tumor, but there's nothing we need to do right now. We'll just watch it. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. So I took all of that information and went to a different endocrinologist. And that was August of maybe July of 2021. I got diagnosed in August of 2021. And I had surgery in October of 2021.
Okay. At least it's only like 2 months apart.
Yeah.
Versus if you haven't gone to the second endocrinologist,
Right.
God knows when that's gonna happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a struggle getting diagnosed. It was a struggle trying to figure out what's going on with my body. Why am I gaining weight? Why is this happening to me? What is happening to me? Depression kicked in very hard. I used to have panic attacks a lot. So it was a rough road to getting diagnosed.
Was that the reason that you're such an advocate for getting second opinion when you're trying to figure out, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you also ask the right questions. Kind of going back to what you were saying, some people don't even know like what the right question to ask when they're beginning this. They could just be hearing from the doctor, hey, I'm just gonna take this weight loss shot and then be done with it,
Exactly.
That's so crazy.
And
That's so
who knows if you would ever find out what was wrong.
Oh wow. You had some great advice about, bring a second set of ears when you go to the doctor's appointments. Why is that?
Sometimes, okay, there's two reasons. One, when people see that you have people on your side, they're more likely to believe you. A lot of my doctors will look to my husband and say, have you noticed the difference? Or have you seen, as if I don't know, you know? So that's one reason. And then another reason is sometimes we get news and we get tunnel vision. So we kind of black out. We don't hear anything else you said after you gave me this bad news. And if having someone there, you might, in case you missed something, they're there to help you through that process.
That makes a lot of sense. But then also, I guess receiving the diagnosis can be also tough for people to hear, especially for like such a complicated, condition. What advice would you give to someone, who was recently diagnosed with a health condition like Cushing's?
Oh my goodness. Find your community. I'm really big on community. I'm really big on having people to talk to. I do different support groups throughout the month for Cushing's disease. So I'm big on community. And another thing would be make sure to advocate because you may there's a book, the book definition of these diseases and how they're supposed to look and what medication you're supposed to take and how much of that medication you're supposed to take. But all of our bodies are different. And so if you don't feel good and you know that there's something going on, then you need to advocate for that.
I could not agree more. And then you've stated in the past that you don't think you will ever feel quote unquote normal again. How have you, processed this information and then come to terms with it?
I say I'm not come to terms with it. I still struggle. Even all these years later from my surgery, I still struggle with knowing that I probably won't ever be the same person that I was. I'm still maybe 100 pounds overweight from where I'm started. I I, I have pain everywhere. So I've had spinal surgery since. So Cushing's disease can cause fat patches, and I had a fat patch on my spine, and it caused me so much pain. It took me 3 surgeons for them to finally stop telling me, oh, if you lose weight, then it'll go away. The third surgeon said, okay, I'll perform a diagnostic test. If it helps, we'll do the surgery. He performed the test. It helped immediately. And I ended up having my surgery December of last year, 2023. And the I can't even explain the weight that took off of me because that pain was no longer there. I had a hard time functioning. I had a hard time getting around. I was using a walker, and the pain was just unbearable at times. And it took me to see 3 surgeons to get that taken care of.
I think what they don't understand is that people keep saying that, oh, you just lose weight, but it's not up to you that you gain that
Right.
weight. It's
Right.
it's the disease that's the source. It's not like, okay, you just change your diet and lose weight, you could get better. It's
Right.
just not,
Mm-mm.
and they don't get it.
If it was that easy, trust me, we'd be
You
skinny.
have done it.
But right. It's not that easy. Cortisol causes weight gain. Cortisol causes fat storage. And that's just the nature of it.
Yep. I think I gained about 60 pounds in a month. And and then I still have a lot of the stretch mark streaks on my belly, and of course the back, the hump back that everyone has on cushions. So it's a really hard one. And then exactly as you mentioned, all the symptoms kind of mask other conditions. It's basically metabolic syndrome, and when I had it during pregnancy, you could have preeclampsia with pregnancy. You could have gestational diabetes. So everyone just think, okay, maybe you just have early onset rather than having this. So I was told, good luck next time. And just happens though I have another super rare condition on top of cushions. It's called it's also pregnancy induced, but it's ovarian overstimulation syndrome. Usually only happen for people with IVF, but mine was completely natural. So my ovary would have swollen up to super large size. So they were treating that instead of thinking about I also had Cushing's. So Cushing was not diagnosed until my 4th pregnancy loss. So it took almost 8 years to diagnose me. But
so each time you got pregnant,
yes, I get
my
Cushing's.
goodness.
So every single time I get it, and until my 4th one, and they were like, okay, I think you have the streaks, so you have all these symptoms. Let's check your cortisol. And my cortisol was actually in the 3,000s range. It was it was insane. Yes, but so they realized, okay, it's actually extremely dangerous for you to be pregnant. You can literally die, right? And but I guess my case is they also didn't really find any tumors or anything. I had no lesions on my adrenal gland, no pituitary tumor, anything. It was just pregnancy. So it's as if I'm allergic to that. Yep. But until today, it's the recovery, as you mentioned, it's still hard. And I could sometimes still feel, especially before your period when you have that hormone shift, I would have the symptoms.
Oh man.
Yep. And recently I heard other doctors were again about getting second opinion, is that my 4th one, when they finally diagnosed me, it was also multiple second opinions. They were able to diagnose me. I don't know how many hospitals I've visited exactly, like you.
Right.
Yeah, it took a long time. And this most recent visit, one doctor was telling me for anyone with Cushing's, you should also be checking your bone density. Which was not every doctor actually tells you the same thing, Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Ended up getting my bone density scan and found out I had osteoporosis at the age of 38.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot to taking and a lot to really take care of your body.
Yeah, it breaks down your body. Cortisol over the long term will kill you. Too much of it will kill you. And not enough of it will kill you. And people are like, you take your medicine faithfully. I'm like, yeah, because if I don't, I'll die. And they laugh it off. I'm like, no, really. If I don't take my medicine, I'll die. Like it is a necessary hormone. So when it's working correctly.
When it's working correctly.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're doing what you do now, and it's so important for people to have support. And then, like you said, it's really good to find the community to have the support. Otherwise, it's very hard.
Yeah.
And also the family support is
yeah.
also important.
After my surgery, I could barely walk. I could barely function. I couldn't get out of bed. So my husband and my children were a big part of why I'm still here today, because their support, their care was vital to my recovery.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else you'd like to share or promote today?
Well, as far as Cushing's, I am in 2 support groups. One is the Cushing Support and Research Foundation. They have a support group once a month. And then NADF, the National Adrenal Disease Foundation, they also have a support group once a month. So there's a lot of information out here. You just got to be able to find it. I am on Instagram, the Lipedema Cushy at on Instagram, and anybody can reach out to me if you have questions or need help with anything. Or if you just need somebody to talk to. I'm definitely here. I found that after being diagnosed and after having all these issues, I had to have something to make me smile. So I started crafting, and that's the stuff you see behind me. I make cups, I make shirts, and it's just something that I love to do. So that's what I started doing, and that kind of kept me sane during and after going through recovery, because Cushing's is one of those things, even after you have your surgery or whatever treatment, your body is still has to recover from those long lengths of having high cortisol. And it messes up our body so much. It messes up your bones. It messes up just about everything in your body. And then, if you have Cushing's disease, they have to do surgery, take out a tumor out of your pituitary gland. And I'm sure that has some type of mental repercussions, because the pituitary gland is what they call the master gland. I'm almost positive you can't go messing around with that and then think you're going to come out and everything's going to be 100% fine. Yeah. So it's just, we learn every day. The doctors don't know. We don't know. We just know what we go through, and we know our experiences. And so we try to help those that help. Like, I didn't know pregnancy-induced Cushing's was a thing. Like, so there is so much that we're learning every day in regards to it. So,
But I'm also really I think your attitude is extremely admiring, because some people just get let down, right? And then you find ways to keep you sane, and also have the smile, and also changing giving this energy and then putting into patient advocacy, and leading people to give them more tools, and then providing information to them, and that's huge.
thank you. It's I've always felt, I used to say, I've always felt like I was called to, be of service to people. And I was like, well, I didn't know what happened this way, but okay. I'll go with it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing everything. And we'll have these resources in a post promoting this Instagram Live. And if anyone have questions about Cushing's or where to find the community, Joel is a good resource. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll have to have
I still want to hear the rest of your story.
That's chat offline.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Talk to you later.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.